The cars were unleashed for the final race of the DTM season for 2018. Marco Wittmann from pole position, but a blistering start from René Rast meant that he was in the lead of the race before turn number 1. Gary Paffett was P3. Now, going into this race, mathematically, René Rast could win the championship. So could Gary Paffett. So too could Paul di Resta. However, the man in the driving seat was Gary Paffett in P3, because that would always be enough for him to seal the Drivers' Championship. René Rast would need to win, and Gary Paffett would need to be P5 or lower for the championship to go the way of the number 33 car of René Rast. So off the back of the hairpin, you could see that Marco Wittmann was getting closer once again to René Rast, and Gary Paffett out on his own a bit in P3. So there, the Mercedes-Benz driver. And the pit stops were going to be crucial when it came to strategy. René Rast brought in, comes out of the pit lane now, and has sufficient time ahead of Gary Paffett to try and warm those cold tyres and prevent Gary Paffett coming past. So there you can see René Rast, and there the gap back to Gary Paffett, who at this point is in P2. It says P12 on the car. That, of course, is allowing for the fact that a number of drivers at that point had not stopped for their mandatory pit stop. Marco Wittmann was next to come out of the pit lane then, having taken his mandatory pit stop, and he would chase down the Mercedes-Benz driver Gary Paffett. As it stood at the moment, it was all looking, the omens were looking good for the championship to go the way of Gary Paffett. And even with Marco Wittmann passing him for effectively P2 in the race, Gary would not defend that position too hard on account of the fact that P3 would be plenty good enough for him to seal the 2018 Drivers' Championship. Still a bit of racing to be done, though, before the checkered flag would be unfurled. And Paul di Resta, who going into the race had a mathematical chance, had a torrid time of it. The lock-up there, as the battle between himself and Philipp Eng would intensify over the next few turns. P13 and P14 was being contested between the BMW and the Mercedes-Benz, and they leant on each other, but eventually Philipp Eng would find himself ahead of Paul di Resta. And despite that very sideways moment, Paul di Resta knew that as far as the championship was concerned, it was all over. René Rast broke some records as he headed to his 6th win in a row in DTM for 2018. The fireworks erupted for him, taking the race win, for Marco Wittmann taking P2, but P3 would be enough for the British driver Gary Paffett to become the 2018 DTM champion. So his 2nd DTM championship title. It's been a long while coming, the 2nd one, but you can see how the emotions overflowed in the car and in the garage as well, with Norbert Haug and Toto Wolff, and also Mark Blundell, and Gary Paffett absolutely delighted because he is the 2018 DTM champion and celebrated in style.